33 Rosewood's finest. Police have reopened the De Laurentiis case and are in the process of questioning witnesses, a newscaster on the 11 o'clock news reported. The De Laurentiis family, now living in Maryland, will have to face something they've tried to put behind them. Except now, there is closure. Newscasters were such drama queens, Hannah thought angrily as she shoved another handful of Cheez-Its in her mouth. Only the news could find a way to make a horrible story worse. The camera stayed focused on the Ollie Shrine, as they called it, the candles, beanie babies, wilted flowers people no doubt just picked out of neighbors' gardens, marshmallow peeps, Ollie's favorite candy, and of course photos. The camera cut to Allison's mother, whom Hannah hadn't seen in a while. Besides her teary face, Mrs. De Laurentiis looked pretty, with a shaggy haircut and dangly chandelier earrings. We've decided to have a service for Allison in Rosewood, which was the only home Ollie knew, Mrs. De Laurentiis said in a controlled voice. We want to thank all of those who helped search for our daughter 3 years ago for their enduring support. The newscaster came back on the screen. A memorial will be held tomorrow at the Rosewood Abbey and will be open to the public. Hannah clicked off the TV. It was Sunday night. She sat on her living room couch, dressed in her readiest CNC t-shirt and a pair of Calvin Klein boxer briefs she'd pilfered out of Sean's top drawer. Her long brown hair was messy and straw-like around her face and she was pretty sure she had a pimple on her forehead. A huge bowl of Cheez-Its rested in her lap. An empty Klondike wrapper was crumpled up on the coffee table, and a bottle of Pinot Noir was wedged snugly at her side. She'd been trying all night not to eat like this but, well, her willpower just wasn't very strong today. She clicked the TV back on, wishing she had someone to talk to, about the police, about and mostly about Allison. Sean was out, for obvious reasons. Her mom, who was on a date right now, was her usual useless self. After the hubbub of activity at the police station yesterday, Wilden told Hannah and her mother to go home. They'd deal with her later, since the police had more important things to attend to at the moment. Neither Hannah nor her mom knew what was happening at the station, only that it involved a murder. On the drive home, instead of Ms. Morin reprimanding Hannah for, stealing a car and driving pissed drunk, she told Hannah that she was taking care of it. Hannah didn't have a clue what that meant. Last year, a cop had spoken at a Rosewood Day assembly about how Pennsylvania had a zero-tolerance rule for drunk drivers under 21. At the time, Hannah had paid attention only because she thought the cop was sort of hot, but now his words haunted her. Hannah couldn't rely on Mona, either. She was still at that golf tournament in Florida. They'd spoken briefly on the phone, and Mona had admitted the police had called her about Sean's car, but she'd played dumb, saying she'd been at the party the whole time and Hannah had been too. And the lucky bitch, they'd gotten the back of her head on the Wawa surveillance tape, but not her face, since she'd been wearing that disgusting delivery hat. That was yesterday, though, after Hannah got back from the police station. She and Mona hadn't talked today, and they hadn't discussed Allison yet. And then, there was ARFA was Allison, would A be gone now? But the police said Allison had been dead for years. As Hannah scanned the guide feature on TV for what else was on, her eyelids swollen with tears, she considered calling her father. This story might be on the Annapolis area news, too. Or maybe he'd call her? She picked up the silent phone to make sure it was still working. She sighed. The problem with being Mona's best friend was that they had no other friends. Watching all this Ollie footage made her think of her old group of friends. They'd had their rocky, horrible moments together, but they used to have a lot of fun, too. In a parallel universe, they'd all be together now, remembering Ollie and laughing even though they were crying, too. But in this dimension, they'd grown too far apart. They'd split up for valid reasons, of course. Things had started to go rotten way before Ollie went missing. In the beginning, when they were doing that charity drive stuff, it was wonderful. But then, after the Jenna thing happened, things got tense. They were also afraid that what happened to Jenna could be linked to them. Hannah remembered being jumpy even when she was on the bus and a cop car would pass by them. going in the other direction. Then, that next winter and spring, whole topics were suddenly off limits. Someone was always saying, shh, and then they all fell into an uncomfortable silence. The 11 o'clock newscaster signed off and The Simpsons came on. Hannah picked up her BlackBerry. She still knew Spencer's number by heart, and it probably wouldn't be too late to call. As she dialed the second digit, she cocked her ear, her Tiffany earrings jangling. There was a scratching noise at the door. Dot, who had been lying by her feet, picked up his head and growled. Hannah took the Cheez-It bowl off her lap and stood. Was it they? Knees shaking, Hannah crept into the hall. There were long, dark shadows at the back door, and the scratching noise had grown louder. Oh my God, Hannah whispered, her chin trembling. Someone was trying to get in. Hannah looked around. There was a round jade paperweight on the little hall table. It had to weigh at least 20 pounds. She heaved it up and took 3 tentative steps for the kitchen door. Suddenly, the door burst open. Hannah jumped back. A woman stumbled through the entranceway. Her tasteful, gray pleated skirt was up around her waist. Hannah held up the paperweight, about to throw it. Then she realized. It was her mom. Ms. Morin bumped into the telephone table as if she were wasted. Some guy was behind her, trying to unzip her skirt and kiss her at the same time. Hannah's eyes widened. Darren Wilden. Mr. April. So that was what her mom meant by taking care of it? Hannah's stomach clenched. No doubt she looked a little insane, tenaciously clutching the paperweight. Ms. Morin gave Hannah a very long look, not even bothering to turn away from Wilden. Her mother's eyes said, I'm doing this for you.